Okay, in today's session, we are going to discuss about the contributions by quality gurus. Okay, we consider Shewhart, Deming, Juran, Feigenbaum, Ishikawa, Rasby, Taguchi. We consider these people as quality gurus. They have contributed a lot towards total quality management and in overall it about quality control. Okay. So first we consider Shewhart. He developed control chart theory with control limits, assignable chance cause and chance causes of variation, and rational subgroups. We are going to discuss about control charts in detail in module 2 or module 3. Okay, so that is its contribution. Control limits means whenever you are manufacturing a physical product, there is a dimension for or there is a size for a physical product. Okay, so whether to accept a product manufactured or whether it should be rejected, that is depending on the range acceptable limit. Okay, it will have upper limit and lower limit that we will discuss in detail in module 2 and 3. Okay, and again if there is variation, that means if there are defectives, there are some reasons because of which you are getting defective products. Okay, sometimes you are able to identify these reasons. In few cases it is not possible to identify the reasons. Okay, based on that you have assignable and chance causes of variation. Variation means that is deviation from the target. Okay, in 1931, he wrote a book called Economic Control of Quality of Manufactured Product, which is regarded as a complete and thorough work of the basic principles of quality control. He also developed plan, do, study, and act cycle for learning and improvement. We are also going to discuss about this PDSA cycle in detail. Next, Ronald Fisher is another quality guru. He created a solid foundation of statistical methods such as design of experiments and analysis of variance. These two methods are even today, these are widely used in research field. Okay, suppose if you do your post graduation and if you do PhD, at that time you are going to make use of these methods, design of experiments and analysis of variance. These are widely used in research field. Next, Deming. He is the best known quality expert in the world. He suggested 14 points, so that is considered as Deming philosophy. His 14 points provide a theory for management to improve quality, productivity, and competitive position. So we are going to discuss about all these 14 points of Deming. Okay, in upcoming topic. In 1950, it taught statistical process control and the importance of quality to the leading CEOs of Japanese industry. Okay, we are going to discuss about why Americans taught about quality to Japanese, what is the reason, then what happened in Japan. All those things we will discuss in next topic, that is historical review. Okay. Next, he is credited with providing the foundation for the Japanese quality miracle and resurgence as an economic power. In offline class, we discussed Japanese products are famous for quality products, whereas Chinese products are famous for cheap cost. Okay, they are able to produce products at very cheap cost, whereas Japanese products are known for their quality. Okay, how these Japanese are able to produce these quality products? What are the reasons? Okay, there's a history behind that. That also we'll discuss. Okay, next, Juran. He emphasized the necessity for management at all levels to be committed to the quality effort with hands-on involvement. Earlier also we discussed, in order to implement total quality management, effort should be made at different levels. Okay, it is not only at the management level. It should be everyone in the company everyone who is working in a company should be aware of TQM. Then only it can be implemented in an effective manner. Juran recommended project improvements based on return on investment to achieve breakthrough results. The Juran trilogy. This also we are going to discuss in detail. The Juran trilogy for managing quality is carried out by the three interrelated processes of planning, control, and improvement. Next, Feigenbaum. So he argues that total quality control is necessary to achieve productivity, market penetration, and competitive advantage. Again, if you are able to produce a product which is having very good quality, okay, so you are able to increase its productivity. Suppose while manufacturing itself, if you produce 100 units of a product, if there is no defective, then so all 100 you can sell them in market. Suppose if you have produced 100 products and out of 100 if 10 are defective, so actually you have produced only 90. Okay, so that will obviously reduce the productivity. If you produce thousands units of a product, then only 900 you can sell in the market, remaining 100 are defective. That will reduce the productivity. Okay, so even though you have produced 1000, you cannot sell all 1000 units of the product because 100 are defective. Okay, if you ensure that there are no defectives produced, okay, then productivity will be improved. Then if you are able to produce quality products, okay, which the reliability of those products are very high, then you are able to gain market advantage because of that. So you can penetrate. Okay, so now if you consider the Chinese products, okay, so China, so it is able to penetrate in the global market. Okay, so you can find Chinese market in Bangalore, in Asan, okay, throughout the world. That is the penetration. How they are able to do that? They are able to produce quality products or products which we can use but which cost less. Okay, so that is called as market penetration. Next, competitive advantage. Again, in the market, for any product or service to serve, to be in the market, okay, two things play an important role. Okay, so one is cost, another is quality. Okay, these are the two criteria to gain competitive advantage. Quality begins by identifying the customer's requirements and ends with a product or service in the hands of a satisfied customer. Okay, so you are going to buy product. Okay, so depending on in order to satisfy some of your need. Okay, mobile phone in order to send messages. Okay, in order to attend online classes, or if you consider a pen in order to write exam, write notes, write something on the paper like that, or if you consider automobile. Okay, so to move from one location to another location, like that, for every product there is a requirement. Customer has this requirement and is going to buy product in with a view that he is able to satisfy his need. Okay, in addition to customer satisfaction, some of Feigenbaum's quality principles are genuine management involvement, employee involvement, first line supervision, leadership, company wide quality control. Next, Ishikawa is another quality guru. He is best known for the development of the cause and effect diagram. He developed the quality circle concept in Japan, whereby work groups, including their supervisor, were trained in SPC means statistical process control concepts. So, from module 2 to 2 and 3, we are going to discuss about statistical process control concepts. Next, Taguchi, he developed loss function concept, which combines cost, target, and variation into one metric. Next, Crosby, he argued that doing it right the first time is less expensive than the cost of detecting and correcting non-conformity. Okay, non-conformity means defective, deviations. Okay, doing it right the first time. Consider the example of getting passed in a course. Okay, in first attempt. So if you fail in the course, again, you need to put a lot of effort, you have to invest a lot of time, and you have to invest money also. You have to repay the fees in order to take supplementary or other exams. Okay. Similarly, while producing a product, if you are not able to do it right the first time, then again, that will result in waste of money, manpower, and material. Okay. That's why if we are able to do something right first time, okay, so that will give us an added advantage. Okay, that is the meaning. In 1984, he authored Quality Without Tears. That is the name of the book. which contain is 4 absolutes of quality management. These absolutes are quality is conformance to requirements. Conformance means to the target. Okay, there is no deviation. If there is no deviation, that is called as conformance. If there is deviation, then that is called as non-conformance. Next, prevention of non-conformance, that is deviation, is the objective, not appraisal. The performance standard is 0 defects, not that's close enough. That means what Crosby is suggesting is suggesting us to always focus on target. Don't go for the range, that is upper limit and lower limit. Okay, always try to ensure that you are producing something to the target, that is mean value. Okay, and the measurement of quality is the cost of non-conformance. Next, dimensions of quality. Okay, so how we are going to evaluate quality of products. Okay, so when you go to market, okay, any product, so you will treat products in different way depending on their cost and quality. Next question is how we are going to evaluate quality of a product. Okay, so what is the criteria? Okay, consider the example of pen. Okay, so how we are going to evaluate quality of which one is better. Okay, when consider the example of 3 rupees pen, 10 rupees pen, 20 rupees pen. Okay, for example, then which is having good quality according to you? Okay, so you have used many pens. Okay, consider 3 pens. Okay, one cost 3 rupees, use and throw pen, and another cost 10 rupees, another pen cost 20. Okay, which is having good quality? So ಯಾವುದು quality ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ? Amok. Okay, consider 3 pens, 3 rupees, 10 rupees and 20 rupees. If someone asks, okay, quality of which pen is good, what is your answer?
3 rupees.
20 rupees.
Okay, so someone told that 3 rupees pen is having good quality. Okay, how will you justify the quality of 3 rupees pen is good compared to 10 rupees and 20 rupees pen? Really. So again, you can argue. So even if it is the cost is less also, you can say the quality is good. Then how will you justify? Next, someone told 20 rupees pen. Okay, so why 20 rupees pen is better or is having better quality than 3 rupees and 10 rupees pen? Krishna Raj. Okay, so in order to justify also, there must be some considerations, okay, some parameters based on which we can evaluate or we can justify. Okay, so I am evaluating the 3 pens, okay, based on this criteria. Okay, like that if you go on justifying or go on evaluating quality based on some considerations, then it will make sense. Okay, so we'll see what are those considerations. Okay, next, dimensions of quality. First one, performance. Will the product do the intended job? Okay, what is the how will you measure performance of pen? What is its intended job? Pen.
dark light
Okay, the intended job is it should write. Okay, you must be able to write using pen. Okay, suppose if you purchased a pen for 50 rupees, okay, and when you go for writing on the paper, if it is not possible to write, then what is the use? Okay, first thing is performance. ಇವಾಗ 3 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಪೆನ್ನು 10 ರೂಪಾಯಿ 20 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಪೆನ್ನು 3 ಬರೆದ್ರೆ, so performance wise all 3 are good. Okay, since you are able to achieve the intended job, that is writing. Okay, that is the performance. Next, reliability. How often does the product fail? So now when it comes to reliability, which pen is better, 3 rupees, 10 rupees, or 20 rupees pen?
20.
20. Okay, so based on your experience, you might have noticed that if you use 3 rupees pen, so ink irbodu, but adra nimge bariyakagalla, ink nibbig transfer agalla. Okay, that is the reliability. In most of the cases, these least cost products, okay, they lack reliability. They may fail at any point. Okay, that is the problem with Chinese products or least cost products. Okay, products which cost less. Whereas obviously in most of the cases, okay, products which cost high, they are reliable. Okay. Next, durability. How long does the product last? Okay, pen etakudro illa tunudro. So then also, if you are able to use that, or bislalinar odadi leak agilla andre, okay, that is the durability. Again, you will compare based on that, you will make a decision. Okay, which is better. Next, serviceability. How easy is it to repair the product? So again, 3 rupees pen, it is use and throw. Serviceability is not at all an issue for that. But if you purchase 20 rupees pen, okay, you don't throw away the pen, okay, when the refill is empty. What you are going to do is, so you will go for purchasing a new refill. Okay, that is the serviceability. Refills must be available in the market. Okay, then if it is not available, then serviceability of that pen will be poor. Next, aesthetics. So how does the product look like? Okay, so now based on aesthetics, so you have 5 options. Which pen is having more quality based on only aesthetics? Okay, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Which one is
Last one.
Fifth one.
Last one.
Fifth. Okay, any other answer? Aesthetics, based on look. Okay, physically, how does it look like? Okay, some are saying that fifth is having good aesthetics. That means good look. Again, that is one of the quality parameter. Okay, so here when we are evaluating products based on aesthetics, you are not considering performance. Okay, you are only considering the look. Next, features. What does the product do? Okay, so whether you are able to change the refills. Okay, in some pens, okay, you can have more than one refill. Okay, and you are able to write in different colors using a single pen. Okay, that is feature of some of the pens. Okay, some pen you can do refilling, some are use and throw. They are the features. Perceived quality. What is the reputation of the company or its product? Okay, in pen also, you know, some pens from some companies, okay, like Parker. Okay, they are very exorbitant. They cost 500, 300 rupees for a pen. Then also people will buy Parker pen. Okay, performance wise, you can write even using 3 rupees pen also, you can write on the paper. Even most of the students will write exam using use and throw pen, which costs 3 rupees. Okay, then also there is a market for Parker pen also. Why people buy Parker pen by paying 500 rupees, 300 rupees? What is the reason?
And reputation.
Because of company's reputation.
Okay, company reputation. And suppose if you want to give gift, okay, if you want to give pen as gift, you don't give 3 rupees or 10 rupees pen. Okay, if you give also, you will think what will be my reputation. So yargo 3 rupees pen gift kotta and reputation enagutte anta heli you are going to think. That's why people usually they prefer to give Parker pen as gift, because it is a matter of reputation. Okay, so some products or some company products are able to gain market because of this reputation. Okay, that is the another dimension of quality, perceived quality. What is the reputation of the company or its product? Next, conformance to standards. Is the product made exactly as the designer intended? Okay, it cannot be decided by the customer. Okay, it will be decided by the internal customer. That means production department or quality department of a company. Okay, that will evaluate conformance to standards. Usually it will be done by quality department. They will consider given design and what has been produced. Okay, they will do that evaluation, that is conformance to standard. Is the product made exactly as the designer intended? Okay. So in the for exam you may get a question. Okay, you may have to explain dimensions of quality by considering any product. You may get any two products. You have to evaluate its quality of those two products, and finally you have to make a decision the quality of which product is good, and you have to justify why that why that is having better quality. What are the reasons? Okay, like that questions you can get. Next, generally quality is inversely proportional to variability. Okay, so earlier also we discussed, if you consider anything, okay, branded and unbranded products, usually we prefer branded products. The reason is they are reliable. Okay, so why they are reliable means variability in those products is very less. Okay, because of that reason we consider them as good quality products. Okay, we will measure quality based on variability. If there is variability, then the quality of the product is poor. Okay, that is the common sense approach. Okay, if there is no variability, then quality will be good. That's why it is inversely proportional. No variability, good quality. If there is variability, that is poor quality. Next, quality improvement is the reduction of variability in processes and products. So 75% of this course is about reducing this variability. Okay, we are going to use the statistical process control techniques in order to address this issue of reducing variability. Okay, so quality improvement is the reduction of variability in processes and products. Next, quality can be quantified as follows. Okay, if you are a customer of any product, okay, in general, how you are going to evaluate quality is you are, unknowingly you will apply this equation. Okay, that is, you are going to evaluate quality by considering performance and expectations. Okay, before buying a product, you have some expectation. So, this product inge work agutte. Suppose if you consider a two-wheeler. Okay, if you purchase a bike, ಈ ಬೈಕ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಇಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಪೀಡಲ್ಲಿ ಓಡಿಸ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಈ ತರ ವೀಲಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟೇಷನ್, ಅಥವಾ ಇಷ್ಟು ಮೈಲೇಜ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಇಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಪೀಡಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ರೈಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಬೈಕ್. ಓಕೆ, ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟೇಷನ್. ಸಪೋಸ್ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್, if the performance is more than that expectation, you will be satisfied. Okay, then you will consider the quality of this product is good. Suppose if the actual performance of that product of the bike is less than your expectation, then you will say the quality of this product is poor. Even this will happen with film. Okay, whenever there is a new release, so before release you will have some expectation. Okay, filming irbodu anteli. After watching a film, okay, if your expectation level is not reached, then you will say the quality of that film, the quality of that movie is not good. That is applicable for even for any product. Okay, you are going to evaluate quality of services, quality of products, considering actual performance and your expectation. Okay, next so next we are going to discuss about historic review. Okay, history of this total quality management. Okay, there's a famous quote by Russell. Okay, so that is this is, you can read in Kannada. You all of you know Kannada. Okay, ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಚರಿತ್ರೆಯಿಂದ ಪಾಠ ಕಲಿಯುವುದಿಲ್ಲ ಎನ್ನುವುದ ಚರಿತ್ರೆಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಕಲಿಯುವ ಪಾಠ. Okay, so always some will say learn from history, but the reality is we don't learn from history. Okay, that is the meaning. So we are going to discuss about history of this TQM, which is very interesting. Okay, next it is directly related to Second World War. Okay, during Second World War, what happened? Who used nuclear weapons during Second World War? Which country used nuclear weapon?
America.
America. So where they used? Where they
Hiroshima,
used?
Nagasaki.
Okay, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay. These places belong to which country?
Germany.
Any other answers?
Japan.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki belong to which country?
Japan.
Japan. Okay.
Japan.
Okay. The history of this TQM is based on this bombing. Okay. So now what we know, US, America destroyed Japan, okay, by putting nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during Second World War. Okay. This is the basis for the history of quality control. Okay. And the rise of Japan as a country which is able to produce quality products. That is the, okay. So during Second World War, America destroyed Japan by putting nuclear bombs. Okay, then, so because of the global pressure, America has to take the responsibility of rebuilding Japan. Okay, since they destroyed Japan during World War, okay, they have to take this responsibility. Okay, they took that responsibility in order to rebuild Japan. Okay, so America supported Japan to come out of the stigma, okay, or to come out of, or to rebuild, okay, or to emerge as a new country, okay, which is performing well in production field or other fields. Okay, America helped Japan in many ways. One such way is what America did was, so they trained Japanese people. Okay, usually most of this TQM or statistical process control or quality control concepts, they originated in USA. Okay, but after the Second World War, these quality experts went to Japan and they taught these techniques to Japanese people, okay, or Japanese industries, and Japanese people were able to, or Japanese industrialists were able to identify the importance of these techniques. Okay, they implemented. At the same time, what happened in USA was, even though these people taught the same methods, same techniques in USA, the industry fraternity in USA, they don't take it seriously. Okay, ಅವರು ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ TQM ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂದ್ರು, US ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಇವ್ರ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಕೇಳಲಿಲ್ಲ. Okay, they don't take it seriously. But Japanese people, okay, when they were trained with these techniques, they took it seriously. They realized the importance of this TQM or statistical quality control techniques. Okay, they started implementing it. In 1 or 2 decades, what happened was, Japanese companies were able to produce quality products, whereas even USA companies were not able to produce products to that level of quality. Okay, so ಒಂದು 20 years ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ 10 to 20 years, okay, Japanese companies were emerged as good quality products producing companies. Okay, but USA companies, they failed to produce very good quality products. Then what happened? Once again, Japan ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. Okay, they started evaluating. Once again, they revisited Japan. Okay, then they realized that these Japanese people, they implemented our own techniques and they are able to produce these quality products, whereas we earlier stage we neglected these things. Okay, then after 1970s and 80s, even USA companies started adopting this TQM. Okay, now even USA companies are able to produce quality products. Okay, this is the history of quality control. So ಅಮೆರಿಕದವರು ಜಪಾನ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ರು TQM ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕ್ಸ್ ನ, ಜಪಾನ್ ಅವರು ಅದನ್ನ ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರು. ಇದೇ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಮೆರಿಕದವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ ಅಮೆರಿಕದವರು ದೇ ರಿಜೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ದೇ ಕ್ರಿಟಿಸೈಸ್ಡ್ ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಯೋಜನ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ they criticized, but Japanese they accepted, and in 1 or 2 decades they started emerging as quality or they are able to produce quality products. So Japan companies and quality products ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ once again when Americans started thinking, they noticed that so because of this TQM techniques only they were able to produce these quality products. Then after 1980s they also started implementing these things. Now throughout the world, okay, in many companies they are using these techniques of TQM. Okay, so we will look at the points. Okay, so in 1924 Shewhart of Bell Telephone Laboratories developed a statistical chart for the control of product variables. This chart is considered to be the beginning of statistical quality control. Later in the same decade, H.F. Dodds and H.G. Romick, both of Bell Telephone Laboratories, this is a company, developed the area of acceptance sampling as a substitute for 100% inspection. Okay, we are going to discuss about this acceptance sampling in detail in module 4. Okay, module 4 is completely about acceptance sampling. Okay, why we should go for accepting sampling rather than 100% inspection, all those things we'll discuss in module 4. Next, recognition of the value of statistical quality control became apparent by 1942. Unfortunately, US managers failed to recognize its value. Okay, this is very important. US managers, that means management of US companies, okay, they don't take this TQM concept seriously. Okay, they fail to recognize its value. In 1946, the American Society for Quality Control, now it is known as American Society for Quality, was formed. This organization, through its publications, conferences and training sessions, has promoted the use of quality for all types of production and service. In 1950, Edward Deming, who learned statistical quality control from Shewhart, gave a series of lectures and statistical methods to Japanese engineers. The reason was America put nuclear bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They have to take the responsibility of rebuilding Japan. Okay, as part of that initiative, they started training Japanese engineers with these TQM techniques. Okay, and on quality responsibility to the CEOs of the largest organizations in Japan. Joseph M. Juran made his first trip to Japan in 1954 and further emphasized management's responsibility to achieve quality. Using these concepts, the Japanese set the quality standards for the rest of the world to follow. Actually, they learned this concept from people from USA, but later they were able to teach the whole world the importance of these techniques, okay, and the importance of quality. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, US managers were making frequent trips to Japan to learn about the Japanese miracle. Okay, actually, during 1950s, okay, American people taught these techniques to Japan, but in 2 or 3 decades, what happened was now Americans are going to Japan to learn these techniques. Okay, these trips were really not necessary. The reason was they could have read the writings of Deming and Juran, okay, but they neglected at early stages. Quality renaissance began to occur in US products and services, and by the middle of 1980, the concepts of TQM were being publicized. In the 1980s, the automotive industry began to emphasize statistical process control. Suppliers and their suppliers were required to use these techniques. ISO 9000 became the worldwide model for a quality management system. ISO 14000 was approved as the worldwide model for environmental management system. Okay, so topics related to ISO is part of self-study. Okay, later I will give these topics for presentation. You have to do presentation as part of activity. Okay, it is included as self-study component. Next, Deming philosophy. Okay, before going to Deming philosophy, now the question is, Japanese, they implemented TQM techniques in, they learned in 1950s and immediately they started implementing them. In USA, they started implementing after 1980. Okay, in India, from where we started implementing these techniques in India? Japanese from 1950s, USA from 1980. In India, the level in the TQM start ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. Or when there's a need to implement this TQM arises in India?
1980s.
1980s. Any other answer? 1980s, USA companies implemented TQM. In India, so because of liberalization, okay, so it started implementing after 1995. Okay, in 1992-3, we liberalized our market. We opened our market for global competition. Okay, again, in order to survive in the global market, we must be able to produce quality products. In order to produce quality products, there's a need to implement TQM, and also foreign investment come to India. MNCs came to India. Okay, they started implementing these TQM techniques. Okay, so in India after 1995, we started implementing these things. Next, Deming philosophy. There are 14 points, okay, suggested by Deming. These 14 points are considered as Deming philosophy. Okay, so first point is create and publish the aims and purposes of the organization. So already you have studied management. Okay, so in previous semester, management and entrepreneurship development. In that course, you know the importance of defining the objective for an organization. Okay, that is the first point. Create and publish the aims and purposes of the organization so that everyone working in that organization is aware of the aims of the organization, okay, in which he is working. Next, learn the new philosophy. Organization must seek never-ending improvement and refuse to accept non-conformance. That means here, in case of TQM, there is no target where once if you achieve, you can relax. It is not like that. Okay, TQM is a never-ending process where continuously you are striving hard to improve quality and to retain that quality. Okay, that is the meaning. Learn the new philosophy that it is a never-ending improvement process and refuse to accept non-conformance. That means if there is deviation, always we should work to reduce that deviation. Next, understand the purpose of inspection. Okay, inspection is part of quality control. Okay, and then you should understand the purpose of that inspection, purpose of that quality control. Okay, management must understand that the purpose of inspection is to improve the process and reduce its cost. Okay, what is the general tendency of inspection? Why we perform inspection? Okay, general tendency is we think inspection is to determine defective. Okay, whether the product can be sold in the market or it is a defective. That is the general perspective. But actually, if you get a defective product, it will not end there itself according to TQM. Okay, you should find the reason why you are getting that defective product. Okay, how you can avoid producing defective products. In order to do that, you have to identify the cause or the reason for producing a defective product. It may be at the processing stage, okay, while performing some operations because of some many reasons, okay, there may be a deviation, okay, that you have to identify. That is the reason, okay. Understand the purpose of inspection. Management must understand that the purpose of inspection is not to only identify the defective. It is to improve the process and reduce its cost. Okay, if you are able to avoid producing products which are defective, then obviously that will result in reduction in production cost. Next, mass inspection is managing for failure, and defect prevention is managing for success. Okay, if you don't have the guarantee that, or if you don't have confidence that whatever you have produced is not according to the standard or according to the requirement, then you have to go for inspection. Okay, then whether you go for acceptance sampling or you go for a mass inspection, that is the second thing. Suppose if you are confident that you have followed all quality standards, you ensured that there is no chance of producing a defective. Okay, then that is the good approach. Okay, it is like prevention is better than cure. Okay, it is that approach. Okay, so if you are able to prevent production of defective products, that is good managing. Okay, if you are producing defectives, then later by applying inspection techniques, if you are able to identify which are those defectives, that is managing for failure. That is not a good approach. Okay. Stop awarding business based on price alone. Okay, this also we discussed in detail in the offline class. Okay, so if you consider only the price, the problem is it is difficult to implement TQM. Okay, so if you are avoiding business based on price, you may have to make compromise with quality. Sometimes supplier may send some defective components which may go to the final product, and that may be released to the market also. Then again that will result in bringing bad reputation for the company. Okay, that's why stop awarding business based on price alone. This is Deming's recommendation. Okay, price has no meaning without quality. The goal is to have single suppliers for each item to develop a long-term relationship of loyalty and trust, thereby providing improved products and services. Next, institute training. Management must allocate resources to train employees to perform their jobs in the best manner possible. Okay, without training, if you simply make people to work that don't fetch results. Okay, so you have to train them. Next, everyone should be trained in statistical methods. Constantly and forever the system. That means it is a never-ending process. Management must take more responsibility for problems by actively finding and correcting problems so that quality and productivity are continually and permanently improved and costs are reduced. The focus is on preventing problems before they happen. Variation is expected, but there must be a continuous striving for its reduction using control charts. Responsibilities are assigned to teams to remove the causes of problems and continually improve the process. Next, teach and institute leadership. Instead of focusing on a negative fault-finding atmosphere, supervisors should create a positive, supportive one where pride in workmanship can flourish. Okay, if you are working in a company, when you can have this pride is when you think company is your own. Okay, if you feel that you are part of that company, then you will get this pride. Okay, so for implementing TQM, this is also necessary. Okay. Next, drive out fear, create trust, and create a climate for innovation. When people are treated with dignity, fear can be eliminated and people will work for the general good of the organization. This is very important. Drive out fear, create trust, and create a climate for innovation. Okay, now you know what is happening with this corona pandemic and what is happening in India. Okay. So now, people are dying because of lack of oxygen, lack of medical infrastructure in India. Okay, even in Bangalore or in most of the cities. Okay, this is happening because of that reason. Okay, drive out fear. Okay, so we are at the management level of this nation. Okay, someone behaves such that okay, everyone must have fear towards him. Okay, I have to take every decision. If a leader behaves like a dictator, okay, then this will happen. Okay, then others will have fear to give their ideas, give suggestions. Okay, and even that leader or that manager is not ready to take decision. Okay, even in the organization also same thing will happen. If you don't drive out the fear, okay, where people must be able to give suggestions and manager or leader must be able to take the suggestions. Okay, then only you can build trust and you can create a climate for innovation. Otherwise, the system will fail. Like today, India is failing. Okay, like that, the organizations will fail if you don't follow this point. Okay, that is drive out fear, create trust, and create a climate for innovation. Okay, when people are treated with dignity, that means if their suggestions are taken, okay, then fear can be eliminated and people will work for the general good of the organization. Now you know what is happening. Okay. In this climate, they will provide ideas for improvement. When management is ready to take suggestions, okay, people will also show interest to give suggestions or ideas based on their experience. Okay. If management don't take their ideas, they are demotivated. Okay, they don't give their suggestions. Next, optimize the efforts of teams, groups, and staff areas. Okay, barriers exist internally among levels of management, among departments, within departments, and among shifts. Externally, they exist between the organization and its customers and suppliers. Okay, so you know in a company, there are many departments. Okay, so there must be proper coordination among various departments. That is the meaning of this point. These barriers exist because of poor communication, ignorance of the organization's mission, competition, fear, and personal grudges or jealousiness. Okay, even this is happening with central government and state governments. Okay, because of lack of coordination, lack of communication, you know, they are blaming one another. Okay, so Chief Minister of Delhi or other states, okay, they are blaming the central government and central government is blaming state governments. Okay, this will happen when there is no proper communication. Okay, this is applicable for any organization. Even managing a nation is also part of it is like managing organizations only. Okay, same principles are applicable here also. Next, to break down the barriers, management will need a long-term perspective. They should have long-term vision. Okay, otherwise it will result in a lot of confusions. Okay. Next, eliminate expectations for the workforce. Okay, goals should be set in such a way that they are achievable and are committed to the long-term success of the organization. Okay, without knowing the strength and weakness of workforce or available resources. Okay, if you simply set a target, it doesn't make sense. Okay, management should set goals which are achievable. Okay, and by keeping long-term success of the organization. Next, eliminate numerical quotas for the workforce. Quotas and work standards focus on quantity rather than quality. That means if you give a target, okay, you have to, in one shift, you have to produce 1 units of a or 1000 units of a product. That is, you are concentrating on quantity rather than quality. Okay, according to TQM, that is not the good approach. Or according to Deming, this is not the good approach. So they encourage poor workmanship in order to meet their quotas. If you give target, okay, even workers cannot concentrate on quality. Okay, so that will result in poor quality products. Next, quotas should be replaced with Statistical methods of process control. Next, there is another sub point in point number 11. Eliminate management by objective. It is also like setting objective and making people working to achieve that objective. This is also not good approach according to Deming. Instead of management by objective, management must learn the capabilities of the processes and how to improve them. Next, remove barriers that rob people of pride of workmanship. Okay, loss of pride in workmanship exists throughout organization because of these reasons. Workers do not know how to relate to the organization's mission. So if they don't think we are part of a organization in which we are working, okay, workers lose interest in their work. They are being blamed for system problems. Even today, people are blamed for this corona problem, but actually it is a system problem. Okay, so system failed to create medical infrastructure. Now they are blaming on the people. Okay, people are not wearing masks, they are not following so COVID protocols like that they are saying. But whether system did this function, the function of creating this medical infrastructure, okay, this will even happen in the companies also. At times, management will simply transfer the blame, or it will blame the workers for not achieving the quality targets. Poor design lead to the production of junk. Inadequate training, then punitive supervision exists. Then inadequate or ineffective equipment is provided for performing the required work. Restoring pride will require a long-term commitment by management. When workers are proud of their work, they will grow to the fullest extent of their job. Okay, so this is applicable for service sector or manufacturing sector. Okay. Next, encourage education and self-improvement for everyone. Everyone should be retrained as the organization requirements change to meet the changing environment. Next, last point, take action to accomplish the transformation. Management has to accept the primary responsibility for the never-ending improvement of the process. It has to create a corporate structure to implement the philosophy. Okay, next, Jurand trilogy I will continue in next class.